Was it an accident or was it deliberate? Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, before we do anything on the show today is, as everyone knows, St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day. I want to wish all of you, not just those who are fully Irish, but those of you that are half Irish, quarter Irish, 1/8 Irish, even just a little Irish. Hell, even if you're not Irish, have a happy, please, safe St. Patrick's Day. I know the drinking began yesterday, even in my own town. The bars, the pubs were full, and they're going to continue to be full. So I told Mike, nothing but Irish music on the show today. We're all a little bit Irish today. So, again, happy St. Patty's Day to everyone. My friends, let me tell you right out of the gate, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I saw the story. I was horrified. I was disgusted. And I had to ask myself again, where was the Secret Service? In fact, it's been 72 hours. Where is the Secret Service? Still, so Friday evening, President Trump was leaving Washington, D.C. to go back to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. He was on the tarmac and decided to hold an impromptu presser, a press event with a gaggle of press reporters. Now, normally, the Secret Service, obviously you don't think of your fellow reporters, American reporters or the press corps, as someone who may threaten the President of the United States. So they were a little bit loose on the security. Well, shockingly, a reporter with what's called a boom mic, in other words, a long stick with a nice thick microphone at the end of it, for the first time in American history, this has never happened to a president before, use the mic, put it right up to President Trump's face, and hit him in the face with it. Right in the mouth and in the nose. And you can tell, if you see the video of what happened, Trump was annoyed, more than annoyed. He was angry. And he pushed his face aside. He gave the reporter who did it, the journalist, a very, very dirty look. And then he said this. Roll cut 10, Mike.
Mr. President, obviously you're concerned about the situation in Gaza. What are the hopes now to get the hostages back?
She just became a big story tonight. Right? Yes, sir. Did you see that?
To his credit, he was very cool, very calm, very composed. When he said she's become the big story tonight, he's trying to answer a question from another reporter, and then bang, right in the face is the boom mic, the microphone, being, hitting him in the mouth and in the nose. Pardon me, Mike? Yeah, then he began to try to laugh it off. Now, if this was Joe Biden, Joey, I can tell you right now, the Secret Service would have hauled Biden off immediately. That reporter would have been tackled to the ground, and this would be the biggest story, not just in America, but in the world. Instead, and I kept waiting. I saw this Friday night. I'm like, I can't believe this. And I'm waiting. Okay, well, they're going to tell us who this reporter is. It was a female journalist. And then 12 hours goes by. 15 hours goes by. 24 hours goes by. 36 hours goes by. And we still don't know the name of the reporter? And then finally, on Saturday, and I want to give a huge hat tip to Laura Loomer, okay? Laura Loomer is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes she misses, but when she's on target, she's really on target. This time, she's on target. Now, I want you to just stand back. No one else in the entire press corps had the guts to identify the reporter who smacked Donald Trump in the face with a microphone? Who swatted him in the face with a boom mic? And they all knew who she was. Fox News, silent. CNN, silent. MSNBC, silent. CBS, NBC, ABC News, New York Times, Washington Post, the Bay say, all of them were there. Everybody knows who this woman is, but there was a conspiracy of silence. And it took a lone woman in front of her laptop through diligent hard work to finally identify the journalist. Now, the journalist now, as Laura Loomer has now exposed, is a far left, and I mean a rabid anti-Trumper, far left NPR reporter by the name of Danielle Kurtzleben. I want to spell her last name because don't take my word for what I'm about to tell you. It's Kurtzleben. Kurtzleben, Danielle Kurtzleben. She was recently promoted, listen to this, to be National Public Radio's White House correspondent. Okay, she's their White House point person. She is a rabid, and I mean rabid, anti-Trumper. You go on her social media page, which she has now locked down because of the immense backlash and blowback. But if you had a chance to take snapshots, you will see she has been on a political jihad against Donald Trump. In fact, when he campaigned in Howell, Michigan last year during the election, this is NPR's so-called White House correspondent. She said the only reason why he went to Howell, Michigan was to appeal and get votes from, you guessed it, the KKK. She's vilified him as a white supremacist, as a racist, as a Nazi. And this is your White House correspondent? I mean, you don't even pretend to be, I don't know, semi-objective, semi-nonpartisan? She's also, by the way, a staunch, and I mean staunch supporter of the LGBTQIA+, the whole thing, the agenda and the entire community. Now, a couple of points need to be said immediately. I don't believe this was an accident. I don't believe it was an accident. I believe it was deliberate, and I believe it was intentional. And as I said on X last night, and I'm going to repeat it right here, right now, this has never happened to any other president in the history of the United States. And now we're expected to believe that this far left, wild-eyed, hate-filled anti-Trumper just accidentally shoved a boom mic into the president's face, right into his mouth, right into his nose. And this was all, what, an accident? Non-intentional? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Usually they're a good six inches away from the president's mouth when the president is speaking. No, I think she did it to stick it to him and then go to her friends and say, I slapped him in the face with my boom mic. I'm a hero to la resistance. Where was the Secret Service? That was an assault on the president. Where was the Secret Service? Why wasn't she arrested on the spot? Why wasn't she questioned on the spot? Most importantly, why wasn't her equipment seized from her and tested immediately? Immediately. There are all kinds of poisons and agents being used. Ricin is one of them. XV poison, another one. Remember what they did to Litvinenko, that Russian KGB defector? Literally a couple specks of dust, and they nuked him. They killed him. You have other kinds of poisons. You just put a speck or two, brush it up against someone's nose, someone's mouth, and they could either die immediately, or it may take a week for it to sort of go into your system, infiltrate your body, and slowly kill you. When you have a president with 2 assassination attempts, with a media that hates and reviles him, with the radical left calling for his assassination and his murder every single day, you allow a boom mic to smack him in the mouth, and at a minimum, you don't seize her equipment and test it? Because think about it. No one would ever predict that an attack would come from a journalist. I'm not saying it was. But where's the Secret Service? They've got to do their job. And why did NPR stay silent? Why did they not reveal the name of their correspondent? Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. 6:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you, do you think it was intentional? Was it deliberate? Or was it an accident? And to me, I don't know how this is not the biggest story in the country right now. I know there were some other big stories, and we're going to be talking about them, I promise. One of them is this another district judge blocking Trump, or trying to block Trump, from deporting nearly 300 Tren de Aragua gang members. In fact, ordering Trump and his administration to turn the planes around in midair as they were flying to El Salvador. So, I mean, there's big stories. We're bombing the Houthi rebels in Yemen. It's now turning into a major military air and missile campaign. So, look, there's big stories out there, no question. But just stand back objectively. National Public Radio, which is very far left-wing, it's basically communist propaganda. Their White House correspondent, who has now been finally identified, not because NPR revealed the information, not because she revealed herself to be the one, but because of Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer. Not Fox, not CNN, as I mentioned, not some big news organization where they see her every day. No, Laura Loomer had to track her down. Danielle, her name is Danielle Kurtzelben. So Danielle Kurtzelben has now been identified, revealed, as the woman who hit Trump in the face with what's called a boom mic. A mic with a long stick, and she smacked him right in the face with it. Never been done before in the history of the United States. No president has ever been hit with a boom mic. Now, just again, to me, this is mind-boggling. This is the president of the United States. Why was the press event, not closed, shut down immediately after that? Why was her boom mic and her equipment not confiscated immediately by the Secret Service to be tested? As I've said before, all kinds of poisons have been used. That's how they got Kim Jong-un's half-brother. If you remember, this was a big story, what was it, maybe 6-7 years ago? This is how they got Litvinenko at a sushi bar in London. You just need a few specks of ricin or XV poison, or there's all kinds of poisons out there. And you can kill the president either instantaneously or within a week or 10 days, it gets into the system and it just slowly destroys your body from within. With all of this hatred against Trump from the left, and this woman, Kurtzelben, is a hater, a rabid anti-Trump hater. with protests on the streets calling for Trump to be assassinated, with him already having had not one but two assassination attempts. Yes, it could come through the press corps. It could come from anybody. Or she may be working for a foreign government. We don't know. I'm not saying she is. I doubt it. I think she did it just to be a hero to her fellow friends and leftists in the resistance. But what I'm saying is, you don't know that. This is the President of the United States. Especially with Trump's history. You don't take any chances. The equipment should have been seized and tested, reviewed immediately. Immediately. She should have been questioned. She should have been held overnight. And she should be permanently kicked out of the White House press pool. I believe she should be fired. At a bare minimum, she should be fired. Now, so again, the Secret Service now needs to tighten up. They're too loose. They're still too amateurish. This is amateur hour. No one touches the president or smacks him in the face with any object. And certainly once that's happened, you get that mic, you get that equipment, you get that reporter immediately on the spot, and the presser is shut down right there. Secret Service should have moved in. Now, furthermore, why didn't NPR reveal that this was their organization and their White House correspondent? What are they hiding? What are they hiding? Say, no, we were the ones who did it. That was our reporter. And whatever. Issue a letter of apology. Whatever. It was accidental, Mr. President. We didn't mean to do it. We're very sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Instead, they stayed silent. She stayed silent. Ay, ay, ay. And all the other news organizations, they know who she is. They know who she works for. I have never liked NPR. It is a pro-Democrat, state-run media outlet. As I said, this is communist propaganda. And they have had it in for Trump now for the last 9 years. You don't get more rabid. You don't get more fanatical. You don't get more one-sided. You don't get more propaganda against Trump than NPR. I've always said, cut off their federal funding. After this incident, if I'm President Trump, if I'm the Republicans, cut off all taxpayer money. Cut off. Not only did they hit him in the face, they then tried to pretend it wasn't them, and they tried to cover it up and not disclose it was them. So, I want to ask you, double-barreled question. Was this accidental or was it deliberate? And is this another colossal failure at the hands of the Secret Service? 617-266-6868. The lines are jammed. I want to take all of your calls. Next. 6:33 on the great WRKO. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Kuhner Country. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. On Friday evening, President Trump was hit in the face with a boom mic by an NPR reporter. Do you think it was A, accidental, B, deliberate? Was it accidental or was it deliberate? You know my views on this. You've got a far left, rabid, never Trump reporter. This has never, ever happened to any president ever in the history of the United States. No, I think it was intentional. I think it was clearly deliberate. And to me, I can't believe there aren't worse repercussions. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote on X. I was very active last night on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report. KUHN as in National ER. Lines are blazing. Mark in Medford. You're going to kick us off, Mark. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. It's a pleasure to kick off the show this morning.
Go ahead,
Are you
Mark.
there, Jeff?
The floor is yours, my friend.
Of course this was deliberate, Jeff. I mean, let's be serious here, okay? This is what the left-wing whack job idiots do. They try to be cute. They try to be funny. They try to act stupid and say, oh, it was an accident. We didn't mean to do it. But you know what, Jeff? They don't realize that once again, when this is all said and done, and it's up to Donald Trump, he's going to get the last laugh once again because this woman is the White House correspondent. Not anymore. In fact, NPR might lose all access to the White House, and that's the reason why they wouldn't come out and say, yes, it was our fault, we did it, because Donald Trump ain't going to take any bull crap from anybody. Oh, really? Okay, guess what? Access denied.
Mark, you're on fire. Let me ask you this. Were a lot of people in MAGA, even not just MAGA, frankly, a lot of people around the country, you look at social media and some are saying, I'm not a big fan of Trump or I didn't vote for him. But how the hell did she get a mic into his face and slap him in the face like that? And the Secret Service did nothing? And then from everything we've been reading, just allowed her to walk home afterwards? They didn't hold her. They didn't question her. They didn't test her microphone with, the assassination attempts on the president's life. We know how sophisticated many modern day poisons are. Now, I'm not saying she tried to assassinate him. Of course not. But nowadays, you never know. You've got all it takes is one unhinged leftist. And she's clearly, this reporter, Danielle Kurtzelben, is clearly a radical leftist. I mean, she hates Trump with every fiber in her being. And, Mark, I've got to ask you, when we think about people who could potentially kill the president, we think of, assassins. We think about misfits, outcasts, maybe the deep state, the CIA. But did it ever occur to people that maybe the press pool could potentially be a source of danger for the president? In fact, what many are saying, and I agree with them, are these reporters even vetted? Are they looked into? By the way, you have a lot of reporters from smaller outlets, not just the big, the big news networks and stuff. So we don't even know who they are, what their background is, or if they've been co-opted, say, by a foreign power, or who knows. What I'm saying is he's got to have much better security at these press gaggles and these press events. This can never happen again. No one should be able to touch the president unless he wants to be touched. No object should smack him in the face, on his mouth and in his nose. Not in our day and age. Not with the sophisticated technology that's out there. So, he's got to have a Secret Service agent by him at all times when he's doing anything with the press. And they've got to be pushed back at a much further distance, and they should be thoroughly vetted. Mark, am I wrong?
Oh, Jeff, you're 1,000% right, like you always say. I mean, Jeff, let's face it. I'm no stone cold killer. I'm no assassin or a hitman by any means, okay? But let's call it what it is. It's very easy today to murder somebody. It's very easy today to kill somebody with the stuff that's out there. Am I right or am I wrong, Jeff?
No, you're completely right.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Jeff. They should be banned from even stepping foot on Pennsylvania Avenue, let alone the White House. I don't trust them. They try to be cute. They try to be funny. But like I said, Jeff, Trump is going to be the one getting the last laugh here. What do you think?
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. NPR now is going to be in big trouble over this. And the fact that they tried to cover it up, I think is going to make it even worse. Mark, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
First of all, Jeff, this definitely was deliberate. There's no question about it, okay? And the rotten Democratic Party and its accomplices advocate hate, and they in a way, they force idiots to do this kind of stuff, and it's just aggravating. This person should have been shot dead on sight. Her death would have been a great deterrent for anyone else that wanted to attack the president. She should be put in prison for 10 years. The Secret Service has failed the president again. And God forbid, Jeff, and I want to say this, God forbid if president is assassinated. Make America Great Again will live on and expand. The Democratic Party will be destroyed after what they have done. And I remember, Jeff, I lived through this after the assassination of President Kennedy. In my lifetime, we had the worst leader, Lyndon Baines Johnson, which, as far as I'm concerned, is responsible for 56,000 dead Americans in Vietnam for his incompetence, and probably another 250,000 Americans suffer from the after effects of the war, okay? That's why he was no good. He was incompetent. And, Jeff, believe me, after having President Kennedy as our president, was a great speaker, and we felt he was a great leader. And then all of a sudden, instantly, this idiot becomes the president. And believe me, there was a lot of despair at that time. And there was only one person that helped us through this, was the grace of Jacqueline Kennedy. If she was the one, if she could take this, we could take it too. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget it the rest of my life, okay? On what she did for this country at that time. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was useless. Useless. And as I say, he's the worst president in my lifetime. And then after him...
Yeah, Jimmy Carter. Well, actually now it's Joe Biden. No, I hear you. No, Russ, look, you're as usual, you hit the nail right on the head. Let me ask all of you, and thank you for that call, Russ. Was this deliberate? Was this accidental? And where was the Secret Service? What should the Secret Service have done? Happy St. Patrick's Day. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, getting a lot of text messages, a lot of emails. Many, in fact, the overwhelming majority of you are saying this was clearly deliberate on the part of that NPR reporter, Danielle Kurtzelben. Let me just throw this quick log, and then I want to go to the phone lines. Okay, quick log on the fire. You have the President of the United States, Donald Trump. It's Friday evening. He's now on the tarmac. He's about to head off to Mar-a-Lago. And then he takes a lot of questions. Unlike Joe Biden, okay, unlike Joey, he takes a lot of questions from the media. And he answers a lot of questions. And so there's a gaggle. There's a group of reporters on the tarmac. And he says, okay, go ahead. Ask me any question you want. And as he's in the process of answering a question from another reporter, this Danielle Kurtzelben, part of the so-called resistance to Trump, who on her social media has said her mission is to destroy him. Her mission is to defeat him. Who goes on about Trump being a white supremacist, member, the grand wizard of the KKK, going on about how he's a Nazi, a fascist, how she's a proud member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and he poses a mortal threat, an existential threat to that entire community. He must be stopped at all costs. By the way, this is their White House correspondent. They're supposed to cover the White House objectively, impartially, okay? But let that go. and then bang, she sticks out her mic. It's with a long stick, and smacks him in the face with it. And you can tell Trump was really angry. He shot her a look, ay, ay, ay. I mean, he almost gave her a death stare. But he was cool. He was calm. He was composed. Didn't run around and like Joe Biden would have and fall on the ground and act like he had just been shot. But then right away said, you've just become a very big story. In other words, you did it on purpose. And everybody knows you did it on purpose. Partially to humiliate me, partially to embarrass me, and partially for you to run to your buddies and your friends at the cocktail set later tonight and say, you see what I did? I smacked him in the face with my mic. I showed him. The Secret Service, again, agree, disagree. I'd love to hear you on this. Should have immediately stepped in and said, Mr. President, with all due respect, this press event is now over. Pulled him back, arrested her on the spot, seized her entire microphone, the boom mic, the whole thing, dragged her away. It is a crime to hit the President of the United States. It's a crime. It's a crime. You can't threaten to kill the President, never mind in any way, shape, or form hit the President. They should have dragged her away and then began to interrogate her. Why did you do it? How did it happen? This has never happened before. Why did it happen this time? And they should have been all over that equipment, testing it, monitoring it, checking it for whatever, any particles, any dust, any specks, any poisons, you name it. You cannot allow people to hit the President of the United States. You can't allow that to happen. Not in this day and age. Not when this man has had 2 assassination attempts. One, they nearly killed him. They missed by a millimeter. A millimeter. So I'm sorry. You don't take chances. And at a bare minimum, she should be fired from NPR. Bare minimum. NPR should no longer be allowed in the press pool. It should no longer be allowed in the White House. It should no longer be allowed to cover the president, period. And the fact that they covered it up, that it took Laura Loomer to disclose all this, I don't know what I'm sickened by more, honestly. That CNN, Fox News, the entire establishment media, the corporate media, refused to name Danielle Kurtzelben as the obvious reporter. She's their White House reporter. They know who she is. She's at every event. They know her. So they wouldn't identify her. It took Laura Loomer to do it. 48 hours after what happened. I don't know if I'm more disgusted at that or the fact that NPR wouldn't self-disclose. And right away say, yeah, look, hey, that was us. That was our reporter. And whatever, fine. If you want to claim, look, it was an accident. She regrets it. We regret it. We're very sorry. And here's a formal apology to the President of the United States and to the Secret Service. You want to check her equipment? Please go on. Check her equipment. You can ask her any questions you want. Instead, they swept it under the rug. They played stupid. Which to me makes this even more suspicious. Agree, disagree. Where is the Secret Service? Rather than do this, they just let Trump keep talking. She was allowed to remain. They kept asking questions. He was obviously really annoyed by what happened. Frankly, he was angry. He kept his cool. But you got to have his back. They've got to tighten up their act. They've got to tighten up their security. And they've got to start taking possible threats to President Trump's life a hell of a lot more seriously. Am I wrong? 617-266-6868. Ben in the great state of Texas. Thanks for holding, Ben. and welcome.
Accepting my call. Thank you for accepting my call. I just wanted to
My
say
pleasure.
I agree with you 100% in everything. I mean, you've broken it down exactly, all the possibilities and the what ifs, and we cannot afford to lose President Trump right now. I hope everybody agrees with me. Everything about the boom mic, you basically, I can't say anything else because you hit all points. But one thing that I do want to mention that you haven't even mentioned, or I haven't heard you, is that when it comes to all these liberal judges putting out, trying to block Trump, it's all about getting President Trump to go against the order, right? And then the liberal media is going to say, "Oh, well, you see, he's a dictator. He's a king. He thinks he's a king." They're just egging him on. They're just pick until he says, "You know what? We're not going to follow that judicial order." And then it's all about he's a dictator. He's a dictator, and that's what the liberal judges are doing. And with that, I'll take your answer off the air. Thank you very much.
Ben, thank you very, very much for that call. I'm going to get to that in the next segment, I promise, because it's such a huge story about what a D.C. District Court judge did over the weekend. It's a mind bender. It's a mind bender. The short answer to your question is you're completely right. This is part of an orchestrated, manufactured political strategy by the Democrats using these corrupt liberal judges, these Democrat hacks, to issue these outrageous rulings, undercutting Trump, blocking Trump, preventing him from acting as president of the United States, and then saying he's going to defy it, obviously, and then we're going to say, you say, he's a dictator, he's a king, fascist, tyrant. That's their game plan. They have politicized and weaponized the courts and these corrupt judges to go after Trump. And it's all to feed their narrative that they have to defend democracy, that democracy is under threat. And by the way, just as a quick aside, did you see those idiots yesterday in downtown Boston? There was about 1,000 of them, these left-wing protesters, protesting Trump, protesting Elon Musk, going on about how they have to save democracy. We're defending democracy. Wall-to-wall saturation media coverage. You would think they had 100,000 people on the streets, the way the media was covering this. And as I pointed out on X last night, so let me get this straight. Trump wins the election with over 77 million votes, wins the popular vote, wins the Electoral College in commanding fashion, wins every single swing state, has a clear popular mandate to implement these Doge cuts to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. And he's the dictator. He's the dictator. I mean, these woke idiots yesterday. I mean, freedom equals fascism in their mind. A popular mandate equals dictatorship. And as I pointed out, by the way, they didn't even have 1,000. Okay, the media it was more like 500-600. Anyway, the media kept saying about 1,000, nearly 1,000, almost 1,000. Last year, if you remember, Kuhner country, we held a huge rally against illegal immigration in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Up to 5,000 people showed up. Not 1,000, 5,000. The media, dead silent. Dead silent. They didn't bother to cover it, with the exception of the Boston Herald, who showed up deliberately to smear us and lie about us and attack me personally. Okay, and lie about that rhino rag. And we know why they did it. They did it anyway, we all know why that was done. Okay? So outside of a of an orchestrated journalistic hit job. They were the only ones who showed up, and they lied. Okay? But outside of that, it was dead media silence. This is Democrat propaganda. They show you the news they want you to see. Now, going back to what happened with Trump. Look, I know this sounds crazy, something out of a Jean Le Carré or Tom Clancy novel. But really, I don't trust the press corps. Honest to God, I don't. They have lied about Trump. They have smeared Trump. They have done everything in their power to try to incite violence against Trump. They clearly smeared him on the Russia collusion hoax. They helped Joe Biden steal the election in 2020. They have become a mouthpiece for the deep state and the Democratic Party. And as my incredible wife said to me last night over dinner, she said, Jeff, they hate him. She said, you have no idea, Jeff. She goes, I'm telling you, I deal with liberals on a day-to-day basis because of her job in real estate. If they could kill him, they would. If they could assassinate him, they would. They loathe, revile, and despise this man. You got to have better security with the media. I don't trust them. And all it takes is one with a screw loose. And you've got yourself, God knows, at point blank range. They've got to be kept much further away. They cannot be allowed to ever come this close again. And there needs to be Secret Service there beside the president when he's taking questions from the press. And they need to be vetted. If you're going to be in that press pool, we need to have thorough background checks. Agree, disagree, because I do not trust the media. I don't. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dane in South Dakota. Thanks for holding, Dane, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I hope they don't garble my voice this time when I'm talking. Anyway.
You're sounding great. So far, they're leaving you alone, Dane.
Thank God. Anyway, listen, back in 2015, okay, when President Trump first ran, he was allotted, it took him a while to get Secret Service. A friend of mine, and I know him personally, Gene Holt was his personal photographer at that time. And he went one time when he was at a meeting to adjust his tie on him for the picture because his tie was crooked. Two Secret Servicemen almost tackled Gene Ho and said, "You don't touch the president." Now, that was back in 2015. They had more security then than they do now. And you know something? There should be at least someone in the background, maybe with a sniper gun from now on. If anybody gets 5 feet close to him, they'll take them out. He probably doesn't want Secret Service next to him because he's such a nice guy. He wants people to feel relaxed. But they're going to be trying to kill him to the day he dies, and especially the press. And as far as that reporter and NPR, they should be banned from any press conferences from now on, and that woman should put a restraint on her to keep her a block away from President Trump from now until he's out of the presidency. You cannot trust these people. Listen, we're living in a very dangerous situation and era right now. It might be the golden era, but it's also the dangerous era for President Trump. So that's my thoughts on that.
Oh, Dane, you're on fire. Dane, I could not have said it better myself. And look, it's all coming out on her social media feed. Okay. Now she's closed it down temporarily. Okay. Her ex account has been shut down. That's by her because she knows what she said over the last couple of years. Now, bloggers and people on social media are uncovering it. She has been calling Trump, quote unquote, an existential threat to democracy, an existential threat to the LGBTQIA plus community, i.e., he's going to get us all killed. He's going to impose a fascist dictatorship. Now, you and I may say, it's rhetoric from the left. You know, they're all echoing the same talking points. Well, think about what she's saying. He's going to get us all killed. Like, in other words, the logical conclusion is take him out. If this is, if we're Weimar Germany and this is the Fuhrer and he's one election away from, imposing this Nazi style, totalitarian system in America, it's a mother dog whistle. Somebody take him out. Now, you're right. I don't trust the press corps, and we live in a very different age. And I want to read to you a text message that I received. Okay? This is from 603. Jeff, you are 1,000% correct, as you like to say. That microphone could have been laced with a chemical like fentanyl. And the worst part of it is, Jeff, this reporter didn't even apologize the minute that she did it, like almost every other person would. See, that's very telling. Not even, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I am so sorry. Right? That's what I would have do. Doesn't matter. Whatever you think about the president, if you're a reporter, that's a huge faux pas. That's a huge gaffe. It's an embarrassing gaffe. So you hit the president in the face with your boom mic. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. President, please, I did not intend to do that. I'm very sorry. And you pull it back. No. She hit him in the face. He gives her these like darts from his eyes. I don't blame him. He was pissed. He was angry. And he realizes she's not saying anything. She's smirking. She thinks it's funny. And he's still answering another reporter's question. That's when he stops and he pauses and he says, you know what? You just became a very big story. Like, in other words, like, I don't know what you're smirking at. You're going to be in big trouble. So, look, Dane, we don't want to think like this. But to me, again, it's so obvious. I can't tell you how many people in law enforcement have been texting me all weekend. When I say they're going bonkers, they're going bananas over this. They're like, how could they allow someone to get that close to the president to hit him in the face? How could the microphone have not been seized and tested? How could she not have been held? And how could they not even think of the possibility after 2 assassination attempts? You don't know. Somebody in the press corps could just lose their marbles. And you want a member of the press has immediate close proximity and access to the president. If someone in the press corps wanted to assassinate Trump, we're not talking about shooting off of a roof 300 yards away. We're not talking about hiding behind the bushes at a golf course and desperately trying to get a shot off hundreds of yards away. He's 6 feet in front of you. It's point blank range. Or if you want to lace it with something, like as the person said, fentanyl or ricin or whatever, stick the microphone right in his face. And that's it. He's dead. Or, whatever. It takes 3 days to die or whatever. In other words, you've got to start treating the press for what they are. They're potentially a threat and they're hostile. They hate this man. And I'm telling you, she would be dancing on Trump's grave. If something ever happened to Trump, this Danielle Kurtzelben, okay, this so-called reporter from NPR, they'd throw a party. She'd love to see him dead. Most of the press corps would love to see him dead. That's why they're trying to incite violence all over the country, again and again and again. So after this, he's got to have a whole new protocol. Farther back, you don't come close. Secret Service at your side, no matter what. And every single one of them now, vetted criminal background checks. You don't know who the next possible assassin could be. Dane, am I wrong? Did we lose Dane? All right, can you keep Dane on the line, please? Keep Dane on the line. And let me ask all of you, am I wrong? I'd love to hear from you. Your calls. Next. 719 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to go right back to Dane in South Dakota, but just before I do, this is from 781. Jeff, you are overreacting. That NPR reporter did not do it deliberately. It was an accident. Focus on other stories. Well, I promise I will, 781, because there's a couple of huge stories as well that developed over the weekend. But just for the sake of argument, okay, let's just say it wasn't intentional. It was an accident. Right out of the gate, why didn't she apologize? Why didn't NPR apologize? Why did NPR, everybody was wanting to know who she was, who was this reporter, who was the one that smacked him in the face with the boom mic. NPR refused to release her name, refused to even admit that it was her employee. And the larger issue, whether it was deliberate or accidental, okay, intentional or done on purpose. Intentional or not done on purpose. Okay, whether this was just, the first time ever that a president gets smacked in the face with a mic. Okay, whatever. Let's just say, no, Jeff, this clearly was not done on purpose. Okay. But where's the Secret Service? To me, that's almost the bigger story here. Why? Because they failed Trump twice. Twice. Once in Butler, Pennsylvania, he came within a millimeter of losing his life. You would think. They would have his security covered. It would be airtight. And I don't just mean that the boom mic got through and hit him in the face, which to me is bad enough. But what is to me inexcusable is once it hit him in the face, let's say it was an accident, just for the sake of argument, Secret Service should have seized that mic on the spot and swab it for whatever. You don't know. What are you going to just blindly, naively assume that this is all on the up and up? No one should touch the president or hit him with an object on his face, on his mouth, on his nose. Not with fentanyl out there, not with ricin, not with all these other poisons that have been used again and again and again. You got to do your job. You got to have higher professional standards. At a minimum, you got to question the reporter, hold the reporter, and say, we want to look at your equipment. Just to ease everyone's mind. Again, am I wrong? To me, this is another failure by the Secret Service. And with so many people out to kill him, let's not mince words. There is a massive target. Look, Elon Musk did an interview with Joe Rogan. And he recently admitted, what's your biggest fear? He goes, honestly, I'm going to get killed. Rogan goes, really? He goes, no, I'm telling you that they hate out there. They want to kill me. And he goes, my fear is they're going to assassinate the president. So, this is an open, everybody. Look, Melania has come out and said she tries to avoid being next to the president in public. The Trump family has said they try to avoid being next to the president in public because they're petrified of another assassination attempt. Remember, in Butler, Barron, president's youngest son, there was talk of him being on the stage with the president when he came on. And they're like, come on, Barron, come on, get up there with your dad, come on. And by the grace of God, he said no. Had he been up there, Barron could have been killed. That's why Melania is now given the order, I don't want my son on stage with the president. So what I'm saying is he is living with the real life possibility of another serious assassination attempt. Now, when a microphone hits the president in the face, in the mouth, and in the nose, that mic should be seized on the spot and looked at and tested. She went home. She took the equipment with her. Nobody even knew her name if it wasn't for Laura Loomer. And this is the Secret Service? 617-266-6868. I'm telling you, it's amateur hour down there. Dane, I'm going to go back to you in South Dakota. You were on a roll. Dane, I've got to ask you, should the president now treat the press corps? I don't just mean that they're hostile ideologically, politically, but when you've got so many of them saying he's a threat to the country, to democracy, to the LGBTQ plus community, should he keep them at a further distance? And should they start vetting them for background checks? What say you, Dane?
Jeff, I want to tell you something. Usually people say you're 1,000%. I'm going to bump it up today. You're 100,000% right. And I'm going to tell you why. Now that this woman has done this, guess what? It's going to give the idea maybe down the road. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was an accident. But then it's going to give somebody the idea, hey, this might be a good way to kill the president. We put some fentanyl on there. We put some resin. So that alone should be a warning to the Secret Service and the president. Okay, you have to realize that there is a serious threat to his life, and there's going to be continuance. We're living in such a dangerous world now. They want to kill this man all over the world, especially here. So, you know something? You have to look at it this way. I'm going to say this. President Trump, or your people are listening, President Trump can trust only one person. Or not one person, but he can only trust God Almighty himself. That's it. And real quick point, I want to finish on this, Jeff. That judge, okay, who wanted to bring back gang members, please fly them back. There's a clue of the insanity of what situation we're in. You think he has danger for his life?
Oh, you're right. No, there's no question. I mean, the hatred for our country, it's an unbelievable ruling. I promise I'm going to get to it. I think, okay, I'll take calls. Lines are full. I'll take calls, I promise, and then we'll pivot. 617-266-6868. 7:33 on the great WRKO. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone in Kuhner country. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, super quick reset. Friday evening, as Trump was about to board his plane to go to Mar-a-Lago, he decided to take questions from a gaggle of reporters. And this has never, ever been done, ever, to any president in American history. A reporter, we now has been identified as Danielle Kurtzelben. She's the White House correspondent, far left NPR, with her boom mic, long stick, big microphone, smacked him right in the face. You got to see the video. Right in the mouth, right in the nose. Trump was very upset, annoyed, obviously. Gave her a very dirty look. Told her now she's going to become a big story, which she is. And the question now is, where was the Secret Service? A, did she do it deliberately or intentionally? She's part of the Destroy Trump media. Her social media posts, you can see this woman suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. To say she loathes him is an understatement. But NPR wouldn't admit it was her report. It was her. That she wouldn't even admit it was her. It took Laura Loomer on Sunday to finally identify the identity of the reporter who hit Trump in the face. And in many ways, the bigger issue is, where was the Secret Service? And why didn't they confiscate her mic, have it checked or tested for all kinds of chemicals or poisons? And why wasn't she questioned? Is this another major failure on the part of the Secret Service? I say yes. What say you? Dave in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
It's such a pleasure to speak with you. Such a pleasure. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. We're the loyal resistance here in New Hampshire. I don't recognize my state anymore. It's a good thing I studied Russian. I should say, "Здравствуйте, comrade. Что ты говоришь?" And so it's crazy. But as we love you in a non-sexual way here, Jeff. We love you.
Thank you, Dave. Dave, what do you make of what happened with that NPR reporter?
Briefly, because I know you want to get onto other topics. It is not only dangerous, but if you will recall, there was a Russian dissident, I forget his name, he was poisoned in London. He didn't find out until a week. Yes.
Yeah, Litvinenko. His name was Litvinenko.
And maybe a week or two later, he wound up in the hospital with radiation sickness. And,
right.
It is, and back to your point on failure of Secret Service, those boom mics should be nowhere near. I mean, imagine now all these state agents got an idea, right? It's crazy. You could have a more sophisticated device that could be puffing things out. I mean, every single mic should be checked. There's no question. I mean, this is insane.
Dave, what does your gut tell you? Was this deliberate or accidental on the part of that NPR left-wing reporter?
No doubt it was deliberate. And, again, it's unbelievably shocking. But I agree with you because historically the Ides of March just went by. And, I really worry about his Praetorian Guard, to continue the Roman analogy. So, we're the soothsayers in the play of Julius Caesar saying, beware the Ides of March. I mean, I think there's a real problem here.
Dave, please don't be a stranger. Call again. Excellent call. 617-266-6868. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Jeff? Yeah, two things. I watched that on YouTube. She literally swiped it. She hit him, but she also swiped it from left to right across his face, trying to get to his lips, if you ask me. And I'm saying, what's that all about? Is an outrageous insult? Look, see what I can do. And the previous caller just now, plutonium. It just only a couple of micro milligrams of that stuff. You're a dead man or a dead woman within like 24 hours. That kind of thing. So. And the other thing, I know you're doing it in the next segment, and I'll hop off right away. This Judge Boasberg, Judge Alsup, you talked about him the other day. Boasberg, by the way, was appointed as a presiding judge of FISA by the person who I loathe, and that would be Roberts. He put him in there January 2020. The Klein-Smith thing was coming up. They dragged that out. He sentenced him, found him guilty, but didn't sentence him until after Trump was done. In other words, Trump lost the election. He sentenced him afterwards, and Klein-Smith got a slap on the wrist. Boasberg is no good. Neither is Robertson. To go back to Alsup, that district has 26 judges, that northern district. 12 of them are regular judges that appear actively. The others, 14 of them. There's 12 of them that are seniors. Alsop is one of the seniors. Okay. They have another judge there, Felton, forget his last name, Henderson. He will be 92, right, in November. Every one of those judges, with the exception of 2 of those 26, have been appointed by Democrats, 2 by either one Bush or both of the Bushes. This is the laxity thing of the Republicans when they get in, not seeing to these districts and seeing how they're populated, and if they have the chance.
I agree. No, it's a cabal. And you're right. It's a group of judges, and it's the same ones over and over again who have been obstructing Trump, blocking Trump, trying to sabotage Trump. And there's no question now. There's absolutely no question. This is lawfare from the other side. That's what this is now. This isn't prosecutors trying to take down Trump. It's now far left Democrat judges trying to take down Trump. Thank you very much, as always, for that call, Nick. I appreciate it. No, look, just to go back to his earlier point, if you look at the video, he's right. It's like she's almost like swapping his face, like rolling the microphone over his face. And again, look, I'm not a Secret Service expert, but how does that happen to the president and the Secret Service doesn't jump in right away and grab the mic? Like, at a bare minimum, push it back. I mean, this to me is, and again, Trump is used to a lot of microphones in front of him, people putting cameras, people putting mics in front of his nose or in front of his face. I get it. But this crossed the line. I couldn't believe it. And then I kept saying to myself, okay, well, they're going to shut it down. They're not shutting it down. Okay, well, they're going to pull her aside. They didn't pull her aside. She's just standing there, nodding her head up and down, listening to Trump as he gives his answer. And then I'm like, well, they're going to seize the equipment. No. I'm like, are you serious? 617-266-6868. Fingers crossed. Thank the Lord. It appears everything turned out okay. But this can't, you can't allow for these kinds of breaches. You just can't. Annie on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Just wanted to say happy thanks, Patrick, to you and your crew. My mind is boggled. I saw this actually take place, and I screamed, where is the Secret Service at the TV? Not as though the TV was going to answer me. But my concern is, have they not learned anything from Ronald Reagan?
Well, that's a great point, Annie. That's a really, really good point. Hell, have they not learned anything from Butler? I mean, you're right about Reagan completely, but, look, the press has a real privileged position. They can be right up next to the President of the United States. I mean, one was like 2 feet away from him. If we can't start trusting the press corps, it's then push him back. Push him back. 7:50 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Nick on Messenger. Jeff, I guess the federal funding for NPR will be terminated this week. Nick, I think you may be right. Look, at a minimum, it definitely now should be terminated. After this, I mean, if this doesn't lead to their funding being cut, what do they have to do? Seriously. Okay, one more, and then I want to pivot to that big judge story. This is from Eric, again, on Messenger. And again, I think he just absolutely hit the nail on the head. Jeff, NPR should at least be fined and barred from White House press conferences. An example needs to be set immediately. Then apply assault charges with a weapon. They would do it if it was them. Now, that's a really perceptive point. A, make an example out of NPR. I completely agree. Kick them out of the press briefings. And kick them out of the White House press pool. Okay? That's it. You're out. You're out. If your reporters can't conduct themselves with a minimum, sense of professionalism, then you have no business being anywhere near the president. But let's say it was reversed. Okay? Just flip it for a second. Say this was a Fox News reporter, or a Newsmax reporter, or a One America News reporter. I'm just, I can go on and on, whatever. Take your pick, okay? And they stuck a boom mic and smacked Joe Biden in the face. And then basically wiped it across his face and his mouth. Now, I'm telling you, I guarantee you, the Secret Service would have taken Joe Biden away. They would have shut down the entire press conference on the spot, the gaggle, and they would have tackled that reporter. That reporter would have been tackled, brought to the ground, and I guarantee you all of that equipment would have been seized and confiscated and tested. And the entire establishment corporate media would be going absolutely berserk. An assault on the president, right-wing terrorism. Was this a deliberate assault? Is now the conservative right-wing media a threat to the republic? It's an insurrection. I mean, if it was Fox News, oh my God, the left would be hammering them for years on this. Their reporter attacked and assaulted the president. But when you do it to Trump, hey, it was an accident. What's your problem? So he got smacked in the face. Who cares? Did anybody die? What's the problem? The hypocrisy here is absolutely stunning. And Eric is right. Completely right. Make an example out of NPR, and that reporter should lose her job, and she should be arrested and charged with assault. Period. And to me, I'll tell you what gave the game away is when she smacked him in the face. I'm going to play the cut one more time because I want to go to the big judge story. But watch. Trump gets hit in the face. The microphone rolls over his mouth and his nose. She never apologized. She never said, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, Mr. President, my bad. I'm so sorry. Nothing. In fact, she's smirking. Even when the president, then you're going to hear at the end saying, you just became a big story. She didn't put her hand up and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Hey, was it intentional? I'm so sorry. She did it. She did it to raise her profile among the resistance, to stick it to Trump, to tell her friends, yeah, I basically slapped him in the face with a microphone. With a boom mic. And that's why NPR covered it up. And that's why she wouldn't identify herself as the reporter in public. I want to play the cut one more time. This is Trump, Friday night. He then is on the tarmac, about to get on Air Force One to go to Mar-a-Lago. Roll cut, taking questions from reporters. Roll cut 10, Mike.
Mr. President, obviously you're concerned. You're concerned about the situation in Gaza. What are the hopes now to get the hostages back?
She just became a big story tonight, right? Yes, sir. Did you see that?
He's stunned. I mean, he was very cool, very composed, but he's stunned. He's like, she just whacked me in the face with a microphone. Like, what the hell is this? Like, just what just happened? And you can't see the video; it's just the audio. But if looks could kill, he gave her such a dirty look, and I don't blame him. Trump knows it was deliberate. He knows, and he's like, how much more disrespectful can you be? How much more nasty and vicious can you be? So now you're smacking me in the face with a microphone and you're laughing? You think it's funny? Again, so he's got to ask this. Basically what? The president has to look around and say, hey guys, where's my Secret Service? Like, guys, why aren't you arresting her? And the reason why he didn't say that, because if he did, he's imprisoning journalists. He's a dictator. The Secret Service needs new leadership. It needs new blood. And I'm sorry, but this amateur hour stuff has to end. They've got to start raising their game and raising their professional standards. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Okay, speaking of unacceptable, and by the way, I will continue to take your calls, I promise. So if you want to continue to talk about this issue, I will. But there is another huge, huge, huge story that all of you need to be aware of. On Saturday, in fact, let me just take it, on Friday, one of the big news stories was President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act. It is a law that was passed in 1798. And what it does, in a nutshell, is that it basically saying in a time of war or in a time of national emergency, the President of the United States has the full executive power as Commander-in-Chief to expedite the removal of alien enemies. In other words, illegal aliens in the country who are enemies of the United States. So, there's no need for these long court proceedings. There's no reason to drag this out months and months and months. If you are deemed a threat, a national security threat, or a public safety threat, the president can have you removed like this. And why did Trump invoke the Alien Enemies Act? He did it in particular against two groups. Tren de Aragua, which is a Venezuelan gang, and of course MS-13. Now, these are two transnational criminal organizations. They are essentially, especially Tren de Aragua, they are essentially foreign terrorists. Tren de Aragua is tied to the most powerful cartel in Venezuela that is joined at the hip with the Nicolas Maduro socialist regime. Remember, Maduro said it was part of his policy to send these vicious gangbangers. And we're talking about murderers, rapists. They do kidnappings. And then, for money, for blackmail, to extort people. They are involved in child trafficking, sex trafficking, fentanyl trafficking, human trafficking. He told them, I want you to pour into the United States to destabilize America, to terrorize Americans. And that's exactly what they have been doing under Joe Biden for the last 4 or 5 years, until Donald Trump. And Trump said, I'm sorry, they're a national security threat. They're a foreign terrorist organization. They're a transnational criminal organization. They're occupying apartment buildings in Aurora. They're rampaging in Miami, in Atlanta, in Dallas, in New York. Their fentanyl is killing tens of thousands of Americans. There are mass graves from the bloody murders that they commit. And remember, it was a Tren de Aragua gang member who murdered Laken Riley. It was two Tren de Aragua gangbangers who raped and then mutilated and murdered Joycelyn Nungare. That's the kind of scum that we're dealing with. And so Trump said, get them out. They're a threat. This is a border invasion. I have declared a national emergency at the border. They're a foreign threat. They're a foreign terrorist threat. Under the Alien Enemies Act, out. Deport them. And so, on Friday, he ordered nearly 300, mostly Tren de Aragua gangbangers, as well as about 23 MS-13 gangbangers. Two of them, by the way, they're top leaders. And he deported them to El Salvador. To El Salvador. Because President Bukele has a supermax prison there. Believe me, you don't want to be sent there. And he's got a supermax prison to detain and imprison these worst of the worst, scum of the scum, drug dealers, fentanyl dealers, murderers, rapists, these Tren de Aragua thugs and criminals. And we pay El Salvador a small fee. For them, it's good money. For us, it's a pittance. And they will house them in one of these horrible, tough, brutal supermax prisons. Now, and just so that you know, the Alien Enemies Act has been invoked repeatedly in the War of 1812, in World War I, in World War II. The Democrats are going on about, well, it's an old law. Who cares? The Constitution is even older than the Alien Enemies Act. The Bill of Rights is even older than the Alien Enemies Act. What, that's nullified too now? So what if it's old? It's been used, and it's been used again and again throughout our history. Now, this should be a no-brainer. A no-brainer. Again, I want to stress this to you. Criminal gangs, marauding, murdering, raping, drug dealing, kidnapping, literally raping and mutilating 12-year-old children in order to terrorize Americans on behalf of a foreign socialist anti-American regime in Venezuela, Caracas, Maduro. Of course the president has full authority to deport him. Of course he should do it immediately. Of course he can invoke the Alien Enemies Act. Nope. On Saturday evening in particular, an incredible ruling took place. An Obama hack, a far-left Obama appointee, Judge Boasberg, Boasberg, D.C. Court Judge James Boasberg, imposed an injunction, a temporary restraining order, blocking Trump's deportation of Tren de Aragua and MS-13 to El Salvador. And then he did something even more incredible. Egged on by the ACLU, which I'm telling you is a communist organization. The ACLU is an anti-American communist organization. It is a disgusting organization. From its very inception, it was there to help lobby on behalf of Marxists and communists. That's what it's there for. The ACLU hates America. Guess what? The ACLU was the one who went judge shopping. And they said, Boasberg's our guy. He loathes Trump. He wants to destroy Trump and sabotage Trump. He'll block Trump. He'll prevent these gangbangers from being deported. As the planes were in the air, there were 2 deportation planes. As they were in the air on the way to El Salvador, this clown of a judge, this rogue judge, now decided to say, I'm president. No, you didn't vote for Donald Trump in November 2024. You voted for me, President James Boasberg. I'm the real, to be honest, Obama's the real president. Their litter is the real president. He literally ordered Trump and Marco Rubio to turn the flights around and come back and have them land back in the United States, where they would then be allowed to stay for at least another 14 days. So they could start holding hearings, which potentially would last for months, if not for years. In other words, to drag it out in court. President Trump and Rubio and Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a public statement telling the judge to go pound sand. In other words, you made your ruling? Okay, tough guy, you enforce it. The two planes landed in El Salvador. There is video that came out where the El Salvadorian law enforcement authorities took possession of these 300 vicious gangbangers and terrorists. You can see them getting their heads shaved, and they're all being thrown into that Supermax prison. And by the way, they seem to have lost their tough guy look. It's incredible. Now that they're going into that dungeon, suddenly they're not so tough anymore. Okay? But let that go. Now the judge is claiming that we are in a constitutional crisis. The media is claiming, listen to this, we are in a constitutional crisis. Democrats are now openly siding with Tren de Aragua terrorists and gangbangers, convicted murderers, fentanyl dealers, rapists, over law-abiding American citizens, and they are now demanding that they be allowed to come back to the United States. And furthermore, they're trying to now say that Trump does not have the authority to deport any of these members of Tren de Aragua, any MS-13 gangbangers. So you see, according to this judge's logic, and according to the Democrats' logic, Joe Biden can fly in millions of illegal aliens into America. No problemo, baby. No problem. But Trump can't fly out. He can't deport the most violent, criminal, foreign terrorists on the face of the earth. That you want to see the level of insanity? That's what we've now reached. Who died and made this judge, James Boasberg, the president of the United States? Who died and said that this guy now can usurp the constitutional authority, the clear authority of the president of the United States? And this is going to be a problem that's going to haunt Trump's second term until they get a handle on this insurrection. And that's what this is now. A legal insurrection by the radical left in these lower court, the most vile, dangerous, extreme, murdering criminals from from the United States and from our communities. I'm sorry. This should be 100-0. They're criminals. They're illegal aliens. They've committed the most heinous atrocities imaginable. They're murdering and raping young girls. They're murdering and raping women. They're slaughtering men and throwing them in mass graves. And you defend them? And you claim they have a right to stay in the United States? These people are sick. They're sick. This Judge Boasberg needs to be impeached on the spot. And Trump now needs to tell every single one of them, take it to the Supreme Court. We're not abiding by a single one of your court orders. Bulldozer, happy St. Paddy's Day to everyone. Okay, so as I was saying just before I got clipped on the way out of the break, Trump's got to ignore all of these court orders now from these radical activist judges. They're clearly trying to undermine, paralyze, sabotage his presidency, and let them appeal it to the Supreme Court. You know, what are they going to do? Really, arrest Trump? I don't think so. And look, as the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said, this is not even close. You know, there are some rulings you go, a little bit gray. could go either way. This is not even close. The president clearly has the right to invoke the Alien Enemies Act, which Trump did regarding Tren de Aragua. He clearly has the right to implement it, and he clearly has the right to facilitate the deportation, to quickly deport some of the most deranged, violent, frankly psychotic criminals and terrorists that Joe Biden let in. Now, if this Obama hack prevails, then basically they've crippled Trump's presidency. They're about 676, 680 of these district court judges, okay, across the entire country. If they're allowed to restrain and put the president in a straitjacket, basically neuter him on an issue where he clearly not just has a popular mandate, but is clearly within his constitutional purview and authority as president, then what you have is 680 judges who are effectively presidents of the United States. They can block him on anything and just make up a reason. And what, Trump's supposed to bow? You know, if you've ever read Gulliver's Travels, the Jonathan Swift classic, you know, these in Lilliput, these Lilliputians, very little men, very little creatures, but they were able to tie up and entangle a giant. And that's what they are. These are Lilliputians, modern day Lilliputians, who are trying to tie up the president of the United States from implementing not just his agenda that he was democratically elected, but his constitutional authority to stop a foreign invasion and to deport and get rid of dangerous, convicted, violent criminals and foreign terrorists. I mean, there's nothing clearer than this fight right now. If he can't deport Tren de Aragua and MS-13, our country is finished. But I want to go just slightly even deeper than that. What kind of a sick mind, whether it's Jasmine Crockett or AOC or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or Ed Markey or Gavin Newsom or Chuck Schumer, I could go down the list. You side with Tren de Aragua over Americans? Are you effing crazy? You side with the very group that kidnapped a 12-year-old girl, took her to a bridge, underneath the bridge, and then several of them raped a 12-year-old girl. And then they murdered her, they butchered her, and they mutilated her. That's Joycelyn Nungare. I'm just giving you one of many examples. And they have a right to be in the United States? By the way, they're not permanent residents. They're not legal citizens. They're illegals. And you side with them? This is beyond abhorrent. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. This is not even insanity. This is evil. This Judge James Boasberg is a traitor. I'm telling you, this is sedition. This is a rogue judge who is so pathological in his hatred for Trump. He's now ordering the president to bring him back. This hasn't stopped. He didn't just order Trump and Rubio to turn the planes around midair. After they landed in El Salvador, and they're now in custody, and they're in fact in that Supermax prison, he says, no. You've got to send planes there, and you got to bring them back to the United States. Over my dead body. And as I said before the break, Trump needs to ignore every single one of these unlawful, unconstitutional, rogue court orders. He's got to tell them, blank off. You don't like it? Take it to the Supreme Court. And by the way, what the hell is the Supreme Court doing? Chief Justice John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, look at now the anarchy that you've unleashed. The Supreme Court needs to step in and say, knock this off. The president is the duly elected president of the United States. And he is the head of the executive branch. Not these district court judges. They can't legislate from the bench, and they can't be commander-in-chief from the bench. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quick. Larry on Messenger sent this to me. Jeff, Republican Congressman Brandon Gill has filed articles of impeachment against this Obama judge, James Boasberg. It's about time. Why hasn't every other Republican in Congress backed Congressman Brandon Gill? This judge, Boasberg, should be a poster child for impeaching these rogue, out-of-control judges, these radical judges. Agree, disagree, all of your calls next. 33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. It's all on the table. Okay, let's go to Dave in Hanover. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you, Dave?
You know, Jeff, I think that is on purpose. That happened to Uncle Donald, and now the judge wants to tell him not to be sending planes. He has every right to send his planes to get these people out of here, Jeff. Who invited them to begin with? It wasn't you and me. It was Joe Biden who let them all in the country. So now the judge is having a fit because he did it without getting the judge's permission. He's got every right to do what he has to do to get these people out of this country. And they're all gangbangers. We got enough problems in Roxbury by itself without having any more gangbangers in the country, Jeff.
Oh, Dave, I'm with you. I mean, to me, the ruling is so outrageous. So, frankly, it's offensive. It's insulting. And Dave, I got to ask you, what goes on in the mind of a judge who literally, we're talking about child rapists, fentanyl traffickers, people who rampage in apartments in cities, kidnapping people, holding them for ransom, slaughtering, murdering, butchering people, innocent Americans. I mean, the crimes that they've committed, and he's demanding that they have a right to stay, and not just have a right to stay, but to bring them back from El Salvador? So what is this now? Trump's going to have to greenlight every single deportation with one of these judges? Like every single one? He's got to get their blessing? Like, here, he just launched airstrikes and missile strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And apparently it's going to be a sustained campaign. What, is a judge going to prevent him from doing that? Like, does he got to go to every crazy liberal judge and say, can I please, can I take out these terrorists that are targeting our ships and blocking down shipping in one of the most important waterways in the world and costing us and the West billions of dollars? Please, can I do it? Please? Can I negotiate with Russia? Can I negotiate with the Russians and the Ukrainians to bring peace? Please? Or maybe you don't like my terms. Or maybe you don't think I'm giving Ukraine a good enough deal. In other words, these judges now are so out of control. I'm not kidding. They think they're mini presidents. They act like, no, you elected me. By the way, they're all unelected. unaccountable, unelected. And that now, to me, is the cancer on our republic. It's these unelected, far-left judges who now think they're the judicial branch, they're the congressional branch, the legislative branch, the executive branch. These are like mini little dictators, as I called them, fascists in black robes. This is the classic definition of judicial tyranny. These judges think that they run the country. And so the question now we have to ask ourselves, this is now really the essence of Trump's presidency. Who runs this country? Is it our elected representatives, i.e. President Trump, or is it bureaucrats and judges? And amazingly, the idiots that are protesting democracy's under siege, democracy's under threat, they're the ones who are siding with unelected bureaucrats and unelected judges. It's stunning. What should Trump do, Dave? My advice to him is, you tell him to go pound sand. We will not comply with your order. Bye. You can send order after order. You can yell, scream, shout, scream. I don't care. Go to the Supreme Court, whatever you want to do. But the deportations are continuing. We're not even going to slow down an iota. What say you, Dave?
Yeah, when it comes down to the judges telling Donald Trump what to do, I just ignore it like I ignore everything else. Do what you got to do. Don't pay attention to them and bring it to the Supreme Court. Take it to the highest court in the country. No judge has a right to tell the president what to do when things are the way they are so he can get things done right. And that's the whole problem. We've given them enough money on the illegals, sucking our money out of everybody's check, and I can't even get a half-decent retirement to stop working, and I'm getting shafted either way. For what? For giving all the illegals money to do nothing, to sit around and drive their stupid cars around? Jeff, they're driving around crazy with these big sports cars, and half of them don't even know how to drive right because they think they got it all set up to where nothing's going to touch it. So, yeah, forget about what the judge says. We did not elect a judge to take over. We elected Donald Trump to take care of business.
Bingo. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Nobody elected James Boasberg to anything. We elected Donald Trump on a clear mandate to deport every single illegal, but especially the most criminal, violent illegals let in by Joe Biden. I mean, I'm sorry. You can't get a more popular mandate than that. And now this judge thinks, what, he's God? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't think so. And I'm telling you right now, it's time to impeach him and defund him. Let these judges know, if you're going to behave like this, in this kind of a extra-constitutional, illegal, frankly, outrageous manner, no salary. Like, just defund them. I'm telling you, Trump's got to start playing hardball because they're going to sabotage and blow up his presidency, and that's what they want. 617-266-6868. Terry in Stoneham. Thanks for holding, Terry, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
Very good. How are you, Terry?
Very good on this rainy morning. Hey, I have no problem with bringing these guys back. You know, Boasberger's he's got a point. Bring him back and let him stay with him. Let him stay with him, Markey, Warren, everyone that voted against the Fentanyl Act. You know what? Let's not bring them back because we already paid to get them there, but collect another 300 of them and bring them to his house. That's what I say.
Better yet, just send them to there. I mean, I'm not kidding. You want to talk to them? You want to hear from them? Fine. We'll send you to that Supermax prison in El Salvador. You can go in with them and see what a bunch of animals they are. I mean, Terry, it's very difficult reading. just take 10 minutes and read up on and these are animals, what they've been convicted of. It'll turn your stomach. It'll turn your stomach. And it's just that that they allowed him in, B, that they allowed him to stay in, and now that they want him back, there's something seriously wrong with these people. Really, honestly, Terry. Look, they're traitors. There's just no other way to put it. They're traitors, and they need to be dealt with and treated like traitors. Am I wrong, Terry?
You are so right. You are so right, Jeff. These people, the Democrats, Warren over in Cambridge, she doesn't see what's going on in her little Cambridge world. Neither does Sanders up in Vermont. Bring them and let them live in Holyoke, okay? Let them live in Holyoke, Mass, and see what's going on.
Terry, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. No, I think, to be honest, I think it's even worse than that. You're right. Don't get me wrong. I think it's even worse. I think they know perfectly well who these people are and what they're doing. They just don't care. That's the chilling part. Boasberg doesn't care. Warren doesn't care. Bernie doesn't care. None of them. 850 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone in Kuhner country. You know, I just find it incredible. Mike, I just found out, is actually 75% Irish. So, you know, his dad's side is completely Irish. His mom's side is half Irish, half Italian. So he's basically 75% Irish. Then Sandy says, whoa, I'm 75% Irish too. 25% German, 75% Irish. And I'm like, so why am I the guy that off air is constantly saying, hey, can we play some Irish music? It's St. Patty's Day. Like, I've got to tell the two Irish people, the Irishman and the Irish woman, to play Irish music on St. Patrick's Day of all days. See what I mean? Welcome to my world. 617-266-6868. Okay, very, very quickly. Listen now to Congressman Jim Jordan. This was him on Fox News about Judge James Boasberg saying this is naked judicial interference with Trump's agenda, and his ruling is beyond outrageous and unconstitutional. Roll cut 14, Mike.
Yeah, that's my understanding. This judge says, don't send the hardened criminals back to where they belong. Bring him back to the country so I can evaluate. And again, this is the same judge, by the way, Maria, who a few years ago, when there was information taken to the FISA court that was false, the guy who falsified that information, this lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, basically Judge Boasberg gave him a slap on the wrist. So this is that same judge. Don't let the hardened criminals leave, even though the head of the executive branch, Article 2, Section 1, says executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. This is his prerogative. He followed the law. He did this. This judge says, no. Bring the hardened criminals back. Bring the gang members back. And we're going to have a hearing on it. I think it's set for next Friday. So, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. But frankly, we probably should have suspected this from a judge who did what he did with Kevin Kleinsmith and that whole FISA court stuff back during the fake Trump-Russia collusion baloney.
You see, this is exactly what the problem with Republicans in Congress is. Did you hear, Jordan? We're going to be holding a hearing on this, I believe, next week. No, please, no more hearings. Please, I beg of you, okay? Try to pass some legislation. That's number one, okay? Forget the hearings. Pass something. And so they're going to drag this. This is so outrageous. They're going to drag this incident out in front of the cameras. Fox and Newsmax and everyone else, they're going to show the camera footage. The cameras are going to be there. And then Jordan is going to grandstand. This is wrong. This is anti-American. And they'll do nothing. They'll do nothing when they should be acting. And I want to read this text. This is from 617. Jeff, and where are the spineless Republicans in the House and Senate not coming out of the woodwork to support President Trump, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. You nailed it, 617. They should be all pushing for the impeachment of this judge. You know, if the Republicans want to impeach this judge, they could do it like this. Get the votes and impeach him. And he's done. And if you impeach him, that sends a chilling message to all these other rogue, radical left-wing judges. No, instead it's play to the cameras, do another hearing, yak, 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 sound all tough, nice sound bites, then run on Fox or Newsmax later in the day and say, whoa, did you catch my hearing earlier? And nothing gets done. I'm sick and tired of all the yak, yak, and the talking. It's time to start impeaching these activist judges. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. This is from Vicky on Messenger. Jeff, I say President Trump should do just as Joey did with the Supreme Court. Ignore them and their orders. I didn't vote for any of these activist judges, but I did vote for President Trump because of all his actions that he's been doing. And no, I do not trust the Supreme Court any longer, not with Amy Coney Barrett and not with Chief Justice John Roberts. So Vicky's basically saying Trump should just follow Joe Biden and just say, no, that's it. I'm not complying. What are you going to do about it? Bye-bye. Last one from Jack, and then I want to go to the phone lines. And it's an absolutely brilliant, very perceptive point. Jeff, judges are nothing but lawyers who donated to a political party and were appointed. They're glorified lawyers. This lawyer, James Boasberg, is doing this because his paymaster Soros said to. And I would add his political master Obama said so. And you're right. They're just fundamentally lawyers. At heart, that's what they are. 617-266-6868. John in Walpole. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, John.
Jeff? Yeah, how you doing? First off, I want to tell you what a great American you are. Okay, I had to get that out first. Been listening,
thank you, John.
Listening to you for years. So you just mentioned he's a Barack Obama hack judge. You've been referring to that all morning.
Yes, James. Yeah, Boasberg is his name.
Right. I know who he is, and I knew the name sounded familiar to me, so I checked it out, and I knew. And he was first appointed by George W. Bush in 2002 to the Superior Court of D.C. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so he's a George W. Bush hack judge. Okay, can we call him that as well?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So then Obama puts him on in 2011 as the federal judge, right? Okay, because now we know Bush and Obama are tight. Well, he's tight with Michelle Obama, right? They love each other, right? George and Michelle get along great now. You know, we always see them talk, and when they have these events. So then, like I said, 2011, they put him as the federal judge. And then also, you just mentioned Jim Jordan. How frustrating is that? I mean, these sound bites, it just drives me crazy. He mentioned the FISA with that Kevin Kleinsmith. You know who he was a FISA judge for a year from 220 to 221. You know who appoints the FISA judges?
No, who?
The Chief Justice. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which was John Roberts. So he put him on the FISA court, Boasberg. Okay? So can we say he's a Roberts hack judge as well? Can we just do that from now on? I mean, I hate Obama. Don't get me wrong, Jeff. You know what I'm saying? Worst president ever, okay? Most anti-Semitic president of our lifetime. But he got his career started by George W. Bush. So if George W. Bush didn't put him on in 2002 in a Superior Court, likelihood is he may not have been appointed in 2011 for a federal judge as Obama because he wouldn't have the experience, right? Is that, you know what I'm saying?
No, you're dead on. Look, what you're exposing, and I think in a brilliant way, is the uniparty. How, look at the Republicans and the Democrats. They swim in the same waters. They go to the same cocktail parties. They rotate the same judges. And they engage in the same anti-American criminal activity. And this guy, Boasberg, you're completely right. And, you know, if you just sit back objectively, and I'll let you finish, I promise, James. Sorry, John, my bad. John, I'll let you finish, I promise. If you just sit back objectively, okay? Both parties have engaged in the illegal spying on Americans. Both parties have racked up the national debt and the skyrocketing deficits. Both parties, until Trump, obviously, have been giving us open borders and unlimited illegal immigration. Both parties are spying on Americans with the FISA court. So what's the difference? I mean, fundamentally, there's hardly any difference between the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats. That's why I call them the ruling class. They just play games and fight over an issue here or an issue there. But, you know, it's an agreement between them. We run the committees for a couple of years, then you run the committees for a couple of years. We make money, you make money. And in the end, we lose our liberties, we lose our freedoms, and we get poorer and poorer as they get richer and richer. And they get much more powerful as we become more and more dependent upon them. Ultimately, until Trump, obviously. Am I wrong on that, John?
You're not wrong. That's the problem. And that book, The Ruling Class, I think it was a professor at BU who wrote it, and Rush wrote the foreword. It's a great little book. It's a small book, but it really encapsulates what it's all about. But it's so frustrating. They're going to have this congressional hearing. What is that going to do? It's going to do absolutely nothing. It's just going to get me more frustrated because nothing's going to happen. So I get up this morning, I hear you referring to him as a hack Obama judge, and I'm like, yeah, but that name sounded familiar. So I appreciate it, but he's a Bush hack. He's a Roberts hack. Okay, remember when Roberts said there were no Trump said he's a Obama judge, and then Roberts got all mad and said, oh, there's no such thing as an Obama judge or a Bush judge. You know, nothing's going to change, Jeff. It's frustrating. You're here, and I can listen to you, and I can vent, but it's very frustrating at times. So we have Kash Patel, we have Pam Bondi, and, you know, we have Tom Homan, but more has to be done because nothing's happening. It's frustrating. We got Trump in there, and it's going to be the same old, same old. You're going to let these crazy judges stop you? It's insane. So hopefully things will change, but I'm not that confident. I'm not being pessimistic or negative, but it's just I put you on in the morning, and it's something else, and it's just something else to get frustrated at. But yeah, I just saw. I didn't know if you were aware of the connection between Bush and Roberts.
No, you just educated me. Literally, you educated me. I knew about the connections to the FISA court. I knew about the connections to Obama. I knew that he's basically he's a rabid anti-Trumper. So I knew about what he did to Kevin Kleinsmith, who was this FBI lawyer who literally lied on the FISA application to continue to spy on Carter Page. So this judge let go an FBI lawyer who was involved in the illegal surveillance and spying of Trump, his campaign, and his presidency. I mean, that's the kind of scumbag he is. I didn't know about the George W. Bush. I'm not surprised. But I didn't know, and you just educated me. Look, I think, John, if we're going to be brutally honest, Trump's going to have to deliver. There's not going to be a next time. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all of them now, Tom Homan, Trump himself, he's going to have to deliver. he's going to have to clean out that swamp. And that's why, in a way, I'm happy these judges are exposing themselves. We know who they are. But, you know, Jordan is a show horse. He's not a plow horse. Jordan is, you know, he's just there to play to the cameras. That's what I've concluded about Jim Jordan. Trump needs to say, impeach. I know he's come out, and Pam Bondi have come out and said, we're not complying. Take it to the Supreme Court. So he's trying to effectively, you know, neuter them and outmaneuver them. But he's got to go even more than that. He's got to go and tell the Republicans in Congress, grow a spine. I want this judge out. I want him impeached. I mean, for a judge, if this is not impeachable, honestly, nothing is. I mean, he's telling the President of the United States who he can deport and who he can't deport. He's telling him that a foreign terrorist organization and the most dangerous, brutal, transnational criminal organization in the entire Western Hemisphere, maybe the world, Tren Aragua, who have the blood of thousands of dead Americans, including young girls, brutally raped by serial men before she was butchered, who are in this country illegally, convicted of the most heinous crimes, and Trump can't deport them? What? No. We don't have a constitution. We don't have a country. We don't have a quote-unquote democracy. I know we're a republic, but we don't have a quote-unquote democracy if this order stands. And so that's why I was happy to see Pam Bondi say, we're not going to abide. Rubio said, we're not abiding. And Trump said, we're not abiding. And the deportations are going to continue. So you do whatever you want. But we are not going to listen to you anymore. We're ignoring you. They got to do even a step more. Impeach. Impeach. When they lose their jobs, they lose their benefits, they lose their salary, and they get shamed. Maybe they're going to start to learn their lesson and uphold their oath. Their oath is not to Obama. Their oath is not to George Soros. Their oath is to the Constitution. And if these activist judges won't uphold their oath, get rid of every single one of them. Enough is enough. John, thank you very much for that call. No, look, my fear... Now, Trump, it's a very different Trump second term than the first term. Trump is on offense. This is shock and awe. He's flooding the zone. He has the Democrats in retreat. But my fear is that they're starting to tie him up in the courts and undermine him and shackle him the way they did in the first administration. He cannot allow that to happen under any circumstances. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Vince in Germany, in Deutschland. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Hey, I can't get enough of that video of them being processed in that Supermax prison. It's 3 minutes long. I think I've watched it a dozen times over the weekend. And what I wanted to say is I believe Trump's job description as the president is the chief magistrate. That's like a constitutional job description. And so him being the chief magistrate of the executive branch and there being three pillars of government, co-equal branches, he can ignore it all day long because his responsibility is to the national security of the nation, and this is a national security issue. And secondly, that judge has nothing behind his orders. He has no enforcement mechanism. Okay, what are they going to do? Send the U.S. Marshals after Trump? Ain't going to happen. So what Trump is doing is right. Continue to ignore these rogue judges, and that's what they are. And it's about time we take down the judiciary and really nip it in the bud. This has been going on for way too long, well over 20 years, well over 20 years. And I think that Trump is right on it, man. He's right on it. This is the second term. This is different, and just continue on.
I agree. You got to just keep defying and ignoring. Look, Biden did it. And, remember Obama? Remember his famous words? He knew he was writing illegal executive orders. He even bragged about it. Remember what he said? I have a pen. Do you remember that? I have a phone. I have a pen. In other words, the hell with Congress. The hell with the Supreme Court. The hell with the Constitution. If I want to create a class of so-called dreamers and give them amnesty, even though he has no power, I'll do it. If I want to ram through Obamacare, I'll do it. If I want to open up the borders, I'll do it. If I want to bomb Libya into submission without congressional authorization, and remember, that bombing campaign went on for months and months and months and months. So don't even, let's not talk about the War Powers Act, which only gives him 60 days. He'll do it. So he brazenly violated the Constitution over and over again. No, I have a phone, I have a pen. So if they can do it, and by the way, not that Trump's doing anything illegal. Everything he's doing is 1,000% lawful. It's 1,000%. If this is not constitutional, then nothing is. And here, let me just put it, and Vince, just to put it in the most starkest way possible, because you're completely right, my friend. What if Trender Aragua right now was planning, say, a massacre? Or they were planning a terrorist attack? And Trump is trying to deport him. And this judge doesn't allow them to be deported. Okay? It's like Al-Qaeda or ISIS. So is the judge now going to say, it's the same thing, you can't deport ISIS terrorists who are in this country illegally, who have been convicted of crimes? So we're going to keep ISIS terrorists or Al-Qaeda terrorists, or in this case, Trender Aragua terrorists, and there's nothing the president can do? So when there is a mass murder, when there is a mass terrorist incident or attack, is the judge going to be held accountable? No. It's going to be Trump. So they're going to tie his hands and literally tell him, you cannot protect law-abiding American citizens. They can rampage, they can murder, they can rape, they can pillage, they can kidnap, they can deal all the fentanyl in the world. And Trump is powerless against them? Blank off. Boston's bulldozer. To all my Irish friends out there, happy St. Patrick's Day. And as Irish nationalists like to say, 26 counties down, 6 to go, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lisa in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Jeff. Hi, Jeff. I missed you. How are you?
Lisa? I'm good. How are you, Lisa?
I'm all right. I'm fuming, but I think I'm a little calmer since I've been sitting on hold because I've been thinking this through. So even though all these years they accuse Trump of being everything that he's not, right? That he breaks the law and democracy is dead and this, that, and the other. He's always complied. So if there was an order, he listened. He did stand down. And I think because we flooded the zone, they were on defense for the first time, right? So they came up with a plan. And he so far basically has complied. But they always end up hanging themselves, if you really think about it. They just crossed the line this time. And now I think he's just going to be like, you know what? I'm not listening anymore. So now their plan is mute because they can keep running to the courts And everything that's logical, like a lot of his executive orders, he knew that he was going to litigate, right? He did it to purposely get the Supreme Court to rule and then put it behind us, right? So the same thing he did with Roe v. Wade. So I think his plan is still going to work, and I think their plan is going to fail because he really does follow the rules. He said it right up front when they took him to court. He said, oh, well, we'll take it to court and we'll fight it out in court. But they're so greedy that they just can't take the small wins, and that's what they did in the 4 years that Joe Biden was there. That's why it was a blessing that they stole it and we got to see what they were capable of. Because had he won, we lose this country forever. If Trump got in the second term, this country would have been done, completely finished. We would have never recovered from it. And I think that was, from God. So they couldn't help themselves. They just went full balls to the wall and showed their whole hand of everything we thought they were capable of, that we accused them of being capable of, but then they proved it, and now they're doing the same. When you're fighting to keep murderers and drug dealers and disgusting human beings in our country, and you cannot have a single justification for it, we all know now that this is just a game. None of them want those people here. They're all bought off. They're all in cahoots, and they thought that he was going to stand down. I am so glad that they said, yep, whatever, we're not doing it. We played, we were here, we were willing to play along, but you crossed the line, we're not playing anymore. And I think that's the greatest thing that could have happened.
Well, I agree. Look, there's no question. You are not 100, but 1,000% correct that Trump has flushed them and smoked them all out. And I think that's one of his many great achievements. They're no longer in the shadows. We know now where they are. We know they're in the deep state. We know who and what the Democratic Party is. We know who and what the establishment Republican Party is. We know who these gangbangers are. We know who these judges are. So we know who the media is. So, and especially thanks to Doge, we know how they're getting funded secretly and the massive corruption and bribery that's being exposed. I'm looking at this, though, slightly different, from a different lens than you are, just a little bit. I think a lot of these judges and Democrats are very sincere. They want Tren de Aragua and MS-13 in the country because they see them as their socialist shock troops. Remember, Maduro, the socialist dictator of Venezuela, rabidly anti-American, has openly said, we're going to collapse America from within. So we're going to flood it with criminals, gangbangers, murderers, rapists, drug dealers, and we'll slaughter enough Americans and create enough crime and chaos and havoc that America will just become a third world hellhole. And the reason why the Democrats, they're showing their hand. It's not just the judge. The Democrats are opposing Trump deporting him. The Democrats are siding with the judge. So, yes, it's monstrous. It's evil. You're right. They're being discredited. But what they're really saying is, no, you're getting rid of our shock troops. This was supposed to be their army when they create their one-party state. When they steal elections and the Republicans are all wiped out and Trump was in jail. And then if anybody complained, you can unleash Tren de Aragua or MS-13. That was essentially their paramilitary. And that's why they're saying, no. Well, whatever you do, don't send them back. We need them here. So that tells you everything you need to know about the Democrats. Look, they're beyond just corrupt. Let me tell you what I learned about the communists, okay? They weren't just corrupt and on the take and cynical and opportunistic and always lining their pockets, although they were all of that. They hated the countries that they were ruling. They hated him. They wanted to destroy him. And if you look at the Democrats just objectively, who hates our Constitution? They do. Who hates our founding? They do. Who hates our history? They do. Who hates our borders? They do. Who hates our country? They do. That's why they want these terrorists in our nation and these transnational criminals. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone in Kuhner country, even if you're not Irish, like the Kuhner man. Today, let's be Irish. 617-266-6868 is the number. Paul in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome. Hello, Paul. All right, let's see if we can reconnect with Paul. Mike, who do you want me to go to next? Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Andy.
Jeff, to give some historical context to this, in 1832, Worcester versus Georgia, President Andrew Jackson ignored that Supreme Court decision. His actual words were, quote, "John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it." And his words to Brigadier General John Coffey were, quote, "The decision of the Supreme Court has fell stillborn, and they find that it cannot coerce Georgia to yield to its mandate." Now, there's no way you can justify the injustices that were done to the Cherokee Nation at the time, but that is a firm example in history of a U.S. president ignoring a Supreme Court decision. Now, to fast forward it all to present day in the 21st century, what Team Trump is doing with getting all these illegals and criminal elements out of the country, time is of the essence. They've got a specific window of time to get this done, and the left is counting on just these out-of-control rogue activist federal judges just coming up with these rulings that are clearly illegal. The time it's going to take to litigate it up to the Supreme Court, the damage will essentially be done by the time it takes for that to happen.
You're a genius. Andy, I'm telling you, you're a genius. I don't know if you ever had your IQ tested, but I'm telling you, you're definitely 140 or above. You, buddy, I love you. Okay, I only have eyes for my wife. I love you in a non-sexual way. You put your finger right on it. This is run out the clock. This is delay, obstruct, delay, because you're right. For Trump, they know time is of the essence. And what they want is they want to drag it out and have Trump battle it out in the courts. And then this goes on and on and on. And so he won't be able to deport hardly anybody because the whole issue is constantly tied up in the courts. And that's exactly what they're doing. It is a political strategy masquerading as these judges making legal rulings. And that's why I'm with Trump 1,000% on this. Ignore him. Ignore him. Just keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Because it's obvious what they're trying to do. And, your earlier historical point was dead on. And, I'm not talking about whether Cherokee were being mistreated and the way Native American Indian tribes and the conflict between states' rights and the federal government. We're not even talking about that. We're literally talking about something akin to, okay, it would be like Jeff Kuhner cannot speak over the microphone. You'd be like, what? I mean, he's a talk show host. What do you mean he can't speak over the microphone? No. He's got to clear it with a judge. You'd be like, but that's insane. That's literally what this case is. If he cannot deport criminal, violent, brutal, sadistic, illegal aliens who are part of a foreign terrorist organization that has invaded our country and the most ruthless transnational criminal gang in the Western Hemisphere, then I'm telling you, he can't do anything as president. He can't do anything. Then he's completely ineffective. He's been completely neutered. He might as well just go back to Mar-a-Lago and play golf all day. And I want to read to you two text messages. I want to get your final response on this, Andy. This apparently, this is from 508. I wasn't aware of this. Jeff, in 1948, the Supreme Court ruled that the federal courts have zero authority to even review a presidential decision to deport hostile foreign enemies, let alone block or reverse that decision. To me, of course. Do you know how many times the Alien Enemies Act has been used? It was used in World War II and World War I. It was used in 1812. It was used after World War II. President Trump has every right to deport foreign illegal enemies, hostile foreign enemies. I mean, that's his job as commander-in-chief, for God's sake. And then there's another one. By the way, you can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 917. The second part, just so that you know, refers to the Houthi rebels, who Trump now has launched and continues to this campaign, missile and airstrikes. He is pounding Houthi rebel positions in Yemen. And the left is going berserk. The Democrats are siding with the Houthis, who are Islamists, who are backed by Iran, and who have been attacking and firing missiles at American commercial ships, American naval ships, and commercial shipping indiscriminately in the Red Sea. So, I mean, we're talking about barbaric terrorists, okay? Islamic terrorists. So, this is what 917 just wrote. Jeff, so in just the last 24 hours, the Democrats have come out all in favor of allowing third world gang members to stay in America forever and against fighting back against third world savages, i.e. the Houthis, who are firing rockets at our ships. No wonder Democrats are polling on par with herpes. I don't know if you've seen the latest polls. They are now at a 30-plus year low. Their favorability rating is in the toilet. Only 7% of Americans now say they have a quote-unquote very positive view of the Democrat Party. I mean, they're committing suicide right in front of our eyes. Andy, what say you?
Okay, what I say is President Trump needs to have an Oval Office address to the nation. He needs to have a whiteboard behind him. Written on that whiteboard, 312 electoral vote, popular vote mandate, 78 million Americans. And he needs to explain what these out-of-control activist judges are doing. And he needs to explain that these illegal decisions will be considered null and void by my administration, my fellow Americans. They're not only against me, they're against you. And this is going to do one of two things. Either A, it's going to force Chief Justice Roberts' hands to protect the institutional integrity of the judiciary.
Yeah, or it's going to break the Democrats. Andy, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I love it. I love it. Either it's going to force the Supreme Court to act and break these lower judges, or it'll shame and totally destroy the Democrats. 950 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mike, I had no idea that was an Irish song. I'm just thinking out loud here, Mike. That doesn't sound Irish to me, Mike. But let that go. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. 617-266-6868 is the number. All right, two very quick texts. This is from 512. Jeff, so no judge interferes with Biden while he lets in millions of illegal aliens. But judges interfere when Trump wants to send them back? Purely political. Democrats would rather get hit by a train than to give Trump a win. They hate a Trump more than they love America. Bingo. Bingo. Okay. This is from 781. Jeff, President Trump should send those MS-13 Tren-de-Aragua gangbangers up to Canada and save on fuel. That will get the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney's attention. Oh, the Canadians will go nuts. They'll go nuts. All right, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go to Eric in Pembroke. Thanks for holding, Eric, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Eric, you're on the air. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, this is judicial tyranny, and this is constitutional and common sense. It's not applied. Judge needs to go. And there's Jordan, the Jordan effect, and it's just going to be the gig continues going. Swig, and there's the media. And it's Tora Bora Bora. Here we go. And what was it last week? Zelensky and Putin and, Putin on the Ritz, and here we go. And we're getting some more of this nonsense. Judicial tyranny and the press.
Jim Jordan, I'm just going to use him as an example, are really all talk, no action. That really what they're just looking for is to get their face on, in front of a camera, on Fox News, on Newsmax, become famous, get their profile. But in the end, when the rubber hits the road, they don't do anything. No one gets arrested. No one goes to jail. Like this judge, no one gets impeached. They do nothing. All they do is talk a good game. They talk the talk, but they never walk the walk. What say you, Eric?
And we're getting bounced around and beat, and they don't care. And they've been selling us down the river, and we're just sitting ducks for China and Muslim Islamic fascists and globalists, and yeah.
Yeah, now Tren-de-Aragua. Oh, you're right. And now Tren-de-Aragua. I mean, we saw them in Aurora, Colorado. My God, they were rampaging in apartment building after apartment building, terrorizing Americans, shooting at them, kidnapping them, stabbing them, killing them, abducting them, raping them. And in Chicago, in Miami, in Dallas, in Atlanta, I mean, local law enforcement will tell you it has been one heinous crime after another. And we can't send them back? So how many Americans do they have to rape and kill? How many children do they have to, like Jocelyn Nungare? Do they have to gang rape and then literally chop her body up? So what is it? They have to, 1 million of us? 2 million of us? I mean, this is beyond sickening. So, look, Trump's got to tell Republicans, get in line, I won, and we're going to start cleaning house. He's got to go Thunderdome right here, right now, and tell these rogue activist judges, I won the election. I won. You lost. You don't like it? Get off the bench. And he's got to start impeaching these judges. He can't let this one go. For the sake of his presidency, he can't let this go. He has to defy him, and he has to go after him. Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate it. Jay in New Hampshire. Jay, I hate to do this to you. 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Yeah, Jeff, I love Andy's idea of having a press conference, and in that press conference, I think there should be an investigation into these judges and how they have ruled against criminals in the past. They want to bring the most violent criminals in the world back into this country. Let's see how they ruled against violent criminals in their past rulings and take them down.
You know, Jay, I'd like to get a copy of their, or a record of their text messages, their emails. I want to know who they've been communicating with, and I want to see their bank accounts. Seriously. You're right. I want an investigation. And I want to know who's telling them to rule like this and how much are they getting paid. Because this is pure insanity. Like you're literally not right in the head if you're going to block the president from deporting the most violent, brutal, savage criminals on the face of the earth. Who, by the way, are not American citizens, are not lawful permanent residents. They all came in illegally. So if you can't deport them, who the hell can you deport? Trump's going to win. Mark my words. He's got the American public with him on this one. The Democrats are politically killing themselves. So you want to back Tren de Aragua? Go ahead. It's your funeral, baby. All right. One more time. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.